Now at 6, breaking news out of San Francisco. A gas line explosion ignites a massive fire, sends people running for cover.
And the flame just shot like straight up in the air, probably 20, 30 feet up in the air. It was crazy.
Dozens forced to evacuate as flames spread to 5 buildings. Why it took so long to stop the flow of gas. KPIX 5 News at 6 starts right now. Good evening, I'm Elizabeth Cook.
And I'm Ken Dassita. That fire scene in San Francisco is still a mess at this hour. Chopper 5 over the scene on Geary Street right now. It is where a work crew hit a natural gas line. The resulting fire raged for more than 2 hours, damaging several buildings.
This is what it looked like to one resident in the neighborhood. Seconds after the gas ignited, an intense torch-like flame shooting 20 to 30 feet into the air. It happened in a neighborhood of apartments and businesses along Geary Boulevard at Parker Avenue.
Well, here's how this emergency played out this afternoon. The first report of the explosion comes in at about 1:18 p.m. The gas line was not capped until 3:36 p.m. Those flames burned for 2 hours and 18 minutes. We have team coverage on the explosion and the evacuation that followed. We begin with KPIX 5's Julie Watts, who is live near the scene. Julie?
Yeah, you know, it was a chaotic scene when we first got out here today. There was flames shooting stories into the air. You can see behind me now the cleanup is beginning, and you can see the burnt out building. That's the Hong Kong Lounge restaurant. It was outside that restaurant that a company installing fiber optic cable hit a gas line, causing this explosion. There were dozens of bystanders and flames shooting 3-4 stories into the air for over 2 hours. It brought back vivid memories of covering that San Bruno gas line explosion years ago, and it was clear right away as soon as we arrived that it was a gas-fueled fire. For a time, there was concern that some of the workers in that restaurant were missing. People we spoke with who witnessed the explosion were sure there had to be injuries and fatalities.
Just a huge sort of fiery flare 30 feet into the air, and I grabbed my backpack and I grabbed a jacket and grabbed my laptop and I ran out the door, and that was it. And they evacuated the block, and we tried to get all older people and animals away from the wreckage, and it was terrifying.
And I saw a bunch of people in front of me. They started screaming and like yelling, and so I turned around and saw the flame growing behind me. It just kind of started erupting, and I actually thought it was a bomb for a second, so I just thought it started taking off down the street.
When all of a sudden I saw the spew of gas coming out of where they were working. And I said, that's gas smoke. And within probably 5 seconds, all of a sudden it ignited, and the flame just shot like straight up in the air, probably 20, 30 feet up in the air. And it was crazy.
We heard a big, like almost like an air noise, like pressure is building up. So I saw people running across the street, so we both ran out. We just saw flames everywhere. Construction workers saying, get back, it's a gas fire.
I couldn't believe it when I looked down. There were like flames like 50 feet high. It was insane. I mean, I had never seen flames that big up close before.
For nearly 2.5 hours, fire crews focused on what they call drown and surround. They continued to drench the surrounding buildings, even though there was no hope in putting out the flames until PG&E shut off the gas. PG&E representative we spoke with didn't know if there was an automatic shutoff valve for this particular line, but at a press conference after the gas was turned off, PG&E said there were multiple lines in the area, and they said they had to hand dig to get to a point where they could shut off the service.
So we need to go slow, and you can imagine the conditions our crew were working in while they were trying to do that. Third, we want to be methodical about what lines we shut off, because we don't want to shut off gas and electricity to thousands of San Franciscans when it's very cold outside.
Finally, around 3:30, we saw the flames suddenly disappear, indicating the gas had been turned off and firefighters could actually get to extinguishing the remaining flames.
There were a total of 5 buildings involved. The Department of Building Inspection is on scene to assess the structural integrity of all buildings involved. This is still an active incident, but it is under control at this time.
Now you can see behind me a dozer just arrived, and there are lots of PG&E representatives there surrounding the hole where this gas line was damaged. Meantime, we're told that neighbors will not be able to return home tonight, and that gas has been turned off for about 300 residents. It is cold out here already, and they are going to be dealing with the cold all night without gas and heat for many of them. But I can tell you the one positive outcome in all of this is miraculously, there were no injuries and no fatalities.
Yeah, Julie, you say that nobody can go back right now because there's still gas preparation going in the area. They have to restore gas service, but also I'm guessing that power in some of those buildings is also down. Have they talked about when these people might get back into their homes?
No, we don't have any ETA on when gas or power will be restored. Don't quote me on this, but I think it's 2,500 customers without power who will be impacted by electricity, 300 for gas. At this point, we don't have an ETA, though, about when it will be restored.
All right. Julie Watts reporting live from the scene there at Gary Boulevard. Thank you, Julie. And we want to show you what it was like right after that explosion. Some of the cell phone video that we got in, Citizen app video, shows flames shooting from the street. Some witnesses say they thought, as you heard earlier, that a bomb went off when they heard the explosion. One driver also captured this video of the inferno from his car. The flames closed down heavily, traveled Geary in both directions.
KPIX 5's Wilson Walker continues our team coverage. He's at an evacuation center being set up right now. Wilson?
Yeah, the city's still trying to get a hard number on how many people will be displaced because of the fire. And the Red Cross, about a half dozen Red Cross workers have now shown up here. They're clearing out a space, a large space in the sort of the basement floor of the cathedral here. And I'm told that they are expecting up to 12 people. I don't know if that means the capacity for 12 people or they've identified 12 specific people who need a place to stay tonight, but that is about the number they are looking at here. So they're about to roll in the infrastructure which would allow people to sleep here tonight. But again, city's still not exactly sure how many people have been displaced. So they're standing by here. They're getting a couple shifts of Red Cross workers ready to sort of work through the night and into tomorrow. And they think at that point they'll have a better idea of how many folks need housing because of the fire. So we'll be standing by here to see who shows up, see how many people were actually forced out of their homes. If not in the short term, maybe even long term,
Right.
because of this fire, Liz.
Right, yeah, no, we're still waiting to hear the real impact of all of this. Also, we're hearing possibly Mel's Diner being another reunification location. Is that what you're hearing as well?
Yeah, I think, again, we're all kind of looking for this number. The city seems to think that as the workday wraps up here and folks start making their way back out into the Richmond and arrive home and see what's happened, that they'll get a better idea of really how many people have been affected by this. And until then, it's sort of standing by here and waiting to see who needs help.
Ready and waiting. All right, Wilson, thank you. Well, right now, buses are being rerouted from 38 Geary, a major Muni artery. Inbound buses are being diverted to Turk Street, while outbound buses are being diverted to California Street.
Well, today's gas explosion and fire brings back memories of the big San Bruno explosion and fire. We talked to the former mayor of that city who was watching the events going on today in San Francisco. And he says that 8.5 years later, it feels like little has changed when it comes to shutting off these major gas lines.
I see right now, as we're speaking here, people on TV digging holes trying to find out where they can shut it off. So this has been going on for probably 2 hours. In the meantime, the radiation from that heat is destroying buildings around there, and the firefighters can't do a whole lot except be defensive. It's very frustrating.
It took a while to shut off the gas today as well. PG&E was criminally convicted for its role in the San Bruno pipeline explosion and because of recent wildfires found in violation of its probation in that case.